hello there. Welcome to the Nature of Work podcast. Since the dawn of time, humans have engaged in what we call work. In the modern world, there are thousands of professions: a plumber, city planner, artist, project manager, fashion designer, firefighters, and thousands more. In this podcast, we want to explore the nature of work through the eyes and ears of such practitioners. What got them into it? What is interesting about it? How do they keep up as well as advance? Why is it important? And how their careers have evolved. We hope it is useful to you in whatever career stage you are. Ladies and gentlemen, today I welcome to the Nature of Work podcast Sukumar Rajagopalan. Hi, Sukumar.
Hello, hi. Thank you for having me, Chris.
I said your name in a formal way. Full name. You know, we have known each other since 1984 as we went to college together. And one of the things, I don't know if you still remembers, we took the AGRE together in Delhi.
Correct.
That was like a
At
great
your Chitty's place we went.
Yes. Hey, Sukumar, okay, you're on this podcast, but the questions I don't promise to be easy. Okay? So
Okay, sure.
let's do our best.
Yeah, sure.
Sukumar, through his firm Tiny Magic, is on a mission to enable everyone to create low risk, disruptive innovations in their organizations using Gen AI. I'm sure these terms are very familiar to you. If not, engage yourself in this podcast and learn. He considers himself lucky to have led two $1 billion transformations using disruptive innovation principles in Cognizant, where he worked for 19 years. He also leads the Chennai Mathematical Institute's Algo Labs initiative, which works on complex data science projects using Gen AI. And then he is a fitness enthusiast who has done 50 million step virtual walk around the earth. Hey, Sukumar, you forgot one thing in your bio, and that is your passion with Indus Valley civilization.
Yes, I should have added
Yeah.
that. Yes. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. So, as a quick time span, he worked in Cognizant from 1995 to 2014. Previous to that, he worked in TCS, Tata Consulting Services, from 1988 to 1995. That is just after graduation. And then from 2015 to right now, he leads Tiny Magic. And that's like a great timing for AI development. Hey, Sukumar, welcome again to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with a simple question. Where does this podcast find you? So you are in which city in India?
From Chennai, India? Yes.
Chennai. Okay. So it is April. Are you, sweating in the heat, or are you comfortable?
Sweating, hot, hotter, hottest. There are only 3 seasons in Chennai, as you know.
Yes.
And you're very getting close to the hottest. It's very hot.
Hopefully that is relief in the offing very soon. Okay. So this is the Nature of Work podcast. So we will try to focus on culture, leadership, how it feels to work, what feelings does working, like having a career in a high-tech industry that we talk about, that we will talk about, that engenders, and that you have engendered with the people that you managed. Okay. And of course, we will come and weave around technology and how that influences the nature of work today. Because, radically, especially after COVID, things have changed dramatically. So we should talk about how COVID has influenced the nature of work. So I said, we graduated together from BITS. What is your fond recall of BITS? What do you most recall about our time in BITS?
I mean, maybe I can connect it to what you did, Chris. So I remember that I wrote the AGRE only due to your influence.
Oh, thank you.
I wouldn't have done that. In fact, I never pursued higher studies actually. But I was like tagging along with you. You are very passionate. You said we should write this AGRE because it's important. And then I wrote that. I wrote the GRE also, thanks to you, as well as the TOEFL. So I was all set to apply for you as universities, but I never did. That is one thing. And I also remember you helping you. These are all my fond moments. So you were trying to run for the Triple E Association president.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes.
So I used to tag along with you as you were campaigning amongst the batchmates, and you did become the president of the Triple E Association. So those things, there are many fond memories.
I did.
And sticking to you and your topic, your enthusiasm is well known amongst our friends.
That's so sweet.
And 40 plus years, you still retain that.
Oh,
You're a cancer survivor and you are still maintaining that level of enthusiasm and passion is quite remarkable.
yeah.
Thank you for being there in my life
Oh, you're welcome. Welcome.
as a great friend. Thank you.
So my fond memories, some bittersweet. Me, working closely with Professor K. Raman on the Triple E leadership, right? And our Triple E leadership dinner, our dinner was like awesome. We had like great
Yes.
food, and we were able to bring the whole team together, and it was like brilliant. Looking back, I'm like, those are the things that inform us, that we learn skills from those things, that when you actually want to do something, right? Whether you do it or not the right way is is dependent on your enthusiasm level. But I learned that you have to try, right?
Well, in the nature of work, Chris, I wanted to mention one thing. So you were a leader even then. But I remember one incident distinctly. We had the association dinner, which was like you mentioned, the fabulous dinner, and pictures were being taken.
Uh-huh.
Right? I was also there.
Yeah.
But then when the picture came, the photographer came, I didn't even look at that photographer. I was collecting an award from you or the K. Raman, I don't remember, one certificate for my contribution. I remember my picture. So the only thing visible in my picture was my back.
Okay.
I was so shy and withdrawn at that time that I remember that incident. Later on, people were like, hey, you didn't even show your face to the picture.
Okay. We will get to see a transformed, dynamic Sukumar in the next 40 minutes, right? Okay.
So much.
All right. So let's get started in a formal way, as we have, as the times are always at the premium. So let's start with, why don't you give me a bird's eye view of your career progression, and you're focusing on, how you evolved as a leader during this time. Let's go.
Yeah, sure, Krish. I think this is probably one of the most important topics. And I have a situation that I've narrated many times before, but not to you, and many of our friends don't know. So I spent 7 years in TCS, and then I joined Cognizant. Cognizant sent me to an on-site client location as their account manager, one of their most important clients. So I was amongst the first 5 account managers Cognizant had hired. Now, until this point, and it's interesting that you're focusing on culture and nature of work. Until this point, I was a technical project manager. I have developed systems on behalf of TCS for various clients. I know how to get the technical work done, kind of thing.
Huh?
Now I have been put into this situation where I have a sales target.
A sales target?
Yes.
I wouldn't have imagined, Suku.
Yeah.
I thought you were deep in the weeds on engineering and
Yeah.
engineering management.
Yeah. So that's part of being an account manager. Now, the problem was I landed myself into a situation, and I'll tell you why this happened, which is, I think, highly connected to your thing about culture and leadership and all that. So I was dropped into a situation. This is the first year of my marriage as well. I've gone with my wife to this location. She is also part of the same company. She is working on another part of the same client engagement. Okay, so you will not believe that I would come home and cry to my wife every day
Oh, wow.
because I felt that I didn't know how everything seemed to be going wrong. Okay, one fine day, four of our people quit 2 weeks before their application went to production.
Uh huh.
Okay, I have a new boss who I didn't like at all. Many of the software we were delivering was having quality issues. The proposals we were submitting, we were losing left, right, and center. So everything that could go wrong potentially was going wrong, and I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I had lost 5 kilos of weight during this process.
Was this in India itself or in abroad?
No, no, this is in America, in Florida.
Oh, in Florida. Okay.
I am at a client site in Florida. It's a small city called Dunedin near Clearwater. So I convinced my wife that this whole America thing isn't working out. Let's go back. And I felt in hindsight, she must have been relieved. At least this guy won't come home and cry every day. Let's go back. Now, why I might mention this story many times is as a last ditch. Again, it's an important thing as to why I never took this step. I called a mentor,
A mentor. Wow.
saying this is what is happening to me. I read out a litany of all my troubles and said, I'm going back. What do you think? So I guess I was just looking for affirmation of the decision I had already made. Anyway, my wife was supportive. So the mentor says, yeah, I mean, if I were you, I might also do that. But let me ask you a question. Let's say you go to a new place. What is the likelihood that you are not going to face a new set of problems that you don't know how to handle?
Okay. Hey, before you proceed, I want to ask. See, mentorship was an important tool in Microsoft. Okay, and so for the value of the listeners here, talk to them about a little bit about the process behind finding a mentor. Okay, where is the right place to look at it? When is the right place? And how do you set expectations between the mentee and the mentor?
Yeah, I'll do that. The thing was, again, something in hindsight. I never built any relationship with any mentor, which I should have done long before I fell into this meltdown kind of situation. So I asked this person, the person says this, right? What if I'll finish this story and I'll tell you what the insights are.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So he says, so why don't you? So he said, okay, I sit back, right? Oh, yeah, sure. What happens if I go to another place? And he said, okay, let me suggest something. Amongst this litany of problems you have read out, pick one problem. Try to approach it in a new perspective and see if you can put your best effort and solve it. If you solve it, then there is something you can do yourself. But let's say you fail. You can now be even more convinced that you are making the right decision and you go back. So I picked sales, which is where I was struggling the most, right? And I also had this incorrect attitude about sales. As an engineer, I thought that sales is an infra dig. I don't do sales, I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
So I had to correct several of my bad attitudes about sales. Luckily, we were able to bring the team together and we were able to solve the problem. I wouldn't get into the solution of it because that is not the focus of this podcast. But there are several things I learned, and slowly, bit by bit, I turned myself around and I became a new man. Okay. From the topic of this podcast and the culture and management, there are several things I realized. One, I was not even practicing what could be called leadership 101. It's like basic things in leadership I was not doing. Okay, second, I did not have the vulnerability to call somebody and ask for help as soon as I landed there. Like there are several people in various parts of the industry who have done this job, right? I could call them and say, hey, I am in this new situation. Can you help me? How should I be approaching? So I felt that if I ask somebody, I am incompetent.
Yeah.
Like I should know everything.
Absolutely.
So this is the second thing from a mindset. The third is I was not trusting the people. I was not actually delegating anything. And why we were failing in sales is I am writing all the proposals and they are poor quality proposals.
Uh-huh.
which never even crossed my mind because I am thinking, hey, I write great proposals. You, Mr. Client, Miss Client, you gave to somebody else. So there are like so many lessons to be drawn from that. The next thing I did was to take a vow that I will become a mentor. On that day, I became a mentor to make sure that to the extent I can contribute, other people don't go through this kind of a meltdown experience.
Uh-huh.
So we rolled out a mentoring program within that customer account. And that kind of spread through Cognizant North America. Other groups started to implement that.
Yeah.
And slowly this culture of mentoring started spreading. Although it didn't do in other places as well as we thought it would, but at least people started thinking about mentoring, helping people grow their careers and all that. So I'll stop here. I know I've spent
So,
too much time.
was this effort encouraged? You must have had a manager. Did he know about the details of what you were going through, and how much were you able to share your concerns with your immediate team? Were they all pretty aware? Like, how transparent was this?
This is the thing, right? I call this the watermelon effect.
Huh.
Nobody but me and my wife knew what I was going through.
So this person was not even working at Cognizant.
No, my boss was in New York. I am in Florida. He is in headquarters, corporate headquarters.
But he was affiliated with Cognizant.
Yeah, he's my boss, a direct boss. So he didn't know.
Okay. In 2005, I had a similar experience where I was going through some challenges, right? And I was like, I need to talk to somebody. And so the debate was, who should I talk to and whether my manager should know. Because, I thought this would be, as you said, would be seen as a sign of weakness, right? And so I was debating whether, and Microsoft had rolled out a mentorship program. And I was debating back and forth as to whether I should email somebody. You could go find a list of mentors. Okay, Microsoft was forward that way. You could find a list of mentors, and you could, filter out people according to
Fantastic.
their skills, right? But it took me some time to go through this list, but I never signed up because I was like, I don't know how much time I should spend. There was a thing about, okay, mentorship is not about getting somebody's time for that 1 hour, but it's about them showing a mirror about yourself, right? And I felt that okay, those principles are great, but let's see what happens. So, but later on, when I came back to Microsoft after 7 years, I was able to help a few people with their mentorship stuff. So I believe the mentorship stuff is valuable. It's a low impact in terms of time, but it is very valuable.
As well as you have mentored a lot of startups. Even I have come to you and reviewed our business plan with you.
Yes.
You gave some very good comments to us that really helped us. You have a very good mentor in yourself.
Thank you.
So that happened, right? The mentoring thing that happened. The thing was, I didn't like my boss at all. He was new to Cognizant. And I was of this opinion that he is in New York City, I am in Florida. How can he help me do my job better? This is a poor attitude, which is what I had. So through this problem-solving thing, my mentor suggested, I sent my boss my best proposal. What I thought was my best proposal.
Mm.
He called me in half an hour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He says, Sukumar, this is a nice proposal, but have you considered this and that and this and that and this and that? And he had like a dozen things I had not even considered. I was like, now I know why you're losing proposals. Left, right, and center.
Yeah.
So I took those comments. I brought my team together and I said, look, this is what we are getting from he was the super boss, right?
Yeah.
How can we write better proposals? And we collectively brainstormed and we started writing. Everybody got involved. It's not just me. Everybody is getting involved. And we turned the situation around that it became one of the best engagements across Cognizant. On top of this, the employees were rated the least happy in the employee satisfaction surveys, which they used to do annually, anonymous survey.
Excellent insights, Sukumar. I believe this is one of the most overlooked tools that any big, not a big company, any successful company can create for their employees, right?
Yes,
So
agreed.
let's move on to the next topic. I recognize you as a storyteller.
Thank you.
I think that you have great skills in that. So one of the things that I always think about is the role of engineering in storytelling. I've worked on many, projects that involve kernel level drivers and streaming from home, from device to device, okay, and many such things. Always mostly in a technical engineering role. And I've always also been a program manager. So how have you and your role as a sales in taking up sales is very insightful. So talk to me about how you have incorporated storytelling in engineering, because I think that's a powerful tool.
Yeah, I agree. The thing, so in the sales standpoint, right? One of the things I realized is this is where my transformation and starting to accept sales. I realized that sales is not actually sales, it's problem solving
How so?
at that time. So I look, customer is having a problem. If you are able to understand that problem well, you get to solve it. It's not people are. It's the view of sales I had was completely incorrect. Okay, now here comes the storytelling bit, which I had not learned during my times in Nielsen. Right, I was still. I mean, this boss that I didn't like at all eventually became one of my best bosses. Right, one day he was sitting in my presentation. He called me out after the presentation. He said, "Sukumar, it's a good presentation, but you know what? You just read out the slide." He says that. He said that privately, of course.
Yeah.
Now I am like, at that till that point, nobody had told me that I am not a good presenter, and I think I am presenting well. Well, guess what? It wasn't to be like that. So next day, I signed up with Toastmasters. So I served in Toastmasters and done it in Toastmasters, probably one of the best clubs in Toastmasters, 2 years, and I got my certification, and it changed my life. So, in storytelling, why I am saying this in the context of storytelling is there are two aspects to the storytelling, right? One is to be able to speak articulately. Yes, if you have a phenomenal story, you can overcome that also. You can speak in completely broken, poor grammar English and still make it. But since we are speaking regular things and things, that articulation, how to tell a story, that I learned in Toastmasters. I would urge all of your listeners, if they are not already familiar to it, go there. Now, it took me another set of disastrous experiences in presenting, which, if we get the time, we can talk about it. So, we learned a storytelling technique from a Bollywood filmmaker. And I started practicing that and slowly started getting better and better at storytelling. Today, I actually teach corporate storytelling. In fact, I have been teaching it now for more than 10, 15 years. So I believe you're right. Storytelling is one of the most important leadership skills ever. In fact, I can't think of a more important leadership skill than storytelling, because your ability to tell the story is crucial.
Yes, Sukumar, I agree. But when you're in the beginnings of innovation, when you think that this new product, untested, unvalidated things is going to change the market, how do you bring the team together to say, hey, this is going to be innovative, so we should rally around it? Okay, and you may not know all the data. You have not done beta testing, so you're going there with a lot of hesitation. How do you overcome the hesitation and convince the team that this is the new path or new set of things that we should do?
Yeah, there are a number of deep things in this particular question, Krish. So, what I found through my experiences, right? We tend to think that the story that we tell, let's assume that you have 100 people in your team, just for the sake of this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We are making this. I used to make this, and I think pretty much a lot of us do make in my conversations with people. We want to convince all the 100 people simultaneously of whatever story we are telling.
Mm.
Well, I am sure there are some leaders like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and I don't know, no Satya Nadella and whichever other leaders they are able to do that. But what I found useful to do is I tell a story and I find that about 20% of those people are influenced, 20 to 25% of people. So I start the initiative with those people and show the breakthrough value that what I am proposing can deliver. And then, so this is what I call as the traffic light model. You go green, yellow, and then red. By assuming that I don't need to carry everybody with me at once at the beginning, it's very liberating. While I'm keeping everybody informed, I am not like boxing people. I'm making a public announcement saying, hey, this is what we are going to do. But I don't expect everybody to fall in line immediately. If there is a critical mass of people, 15-20% following, we start there. Because I have a huge functional area. I can start in the sliver where people are interested in trying. If they get the value that I'm predicting, then it becomes natural that other people adopt it. And I have seen this now several times. These $2 billion initiatives that I'm proud of mentioning followed this approach. So I have discovered this through trial and error. This, what I'm saying, is not very well known, although the roots of this research lies in crossing the chasm from Jeffrey Moore.
Brilliant guy.
Yeah. That if you look at the theory, how innovation gets adopted, he has talked about it in the context of startup, but I found that any change or innovation follows the crossing the chasm model. And when we go to town with everybody simultaneously on day one, this is why many change initiatives die before they cross the chasm. In fact, corporate world is littered with initiatives that just die after a few months. It is because of this reason.
Yes, on that subject of these initiatives failing, I think one of the big reasons is people find themselves, or employees find themselves out of the loop. So if you say that I'm going to share this new idea with the first cohort of people, you're leaving the say 20% of your base, you are leaving 80% out. So, but somehow word gets out, and people recognize that, hey, this person has more information, so he's probably more valuable to the company, right? So, other people might feel that this is why am I excluded from this conversation or this information? How do you manage those expectations? This is another term for this is politics, right? So somebody might go and say, hey, I have privy to this information, so they might be able to make better career moves and leapfrog others, and that comes often as a detriment to great work. So how do you manage those complexities? I mean, what is your experience managing those complexities?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this is what I was trying to say. What we do is let's say you have a new idea, right? You think, hey, this we should all do, right? The entire team should do. You present that in the team meeting. Say, hey, this is what we all want to do. Who all want to volunteer? I have found through experience that only 15-20% hands go up. I said that's okay. Now, the interesting thing is there are many initiatives to be done. It's not the same people that put up the hand for everything. It's different people for different initiatives. So you can do 2 or 3 initiatives in parallel, and each initiative is started by people who are passionate about that initiative. So you can make progress simultaneously in many initiatives. So this particular idea of doing this in parallel comes from a US Army person called Winning in Fast Time. I will send you this reference later. This cognizant management, Francisco D'Souza, he had invited the authors of this book to come and present to our management team. So I thought, because typically what do? We take the initiative, run a pilot project, then take the go, no go. It's just too slow. Plus, we are also having this hidden expectation that everybody should adopt it immediately if the pilot is passed.
Yeah.
So instead of that, I felt that this winning in fast time. So in the green, yellow, red, as I call it, the traffic light model, imagine that there are three initiatives. Each has a different set of greens. They all push it. So there is no exclusion and there is no politics. It's based on which initiative you want to work on.
Mhm.
So there is also the alignment between what the leaders below me want to push. We don't want to force them to go behind some initiative. In fact, I have tried to learn from, let's say that there is an initiative. There are some people who are red towards it. Say they don't think it works, but they may not say that out aloud in a meeting.
Yeah.
In an Indian context, which is a very indirect culture, as you know,
Yeah.
people will not openly tell the boss, say, this won't work. Right? So you have to pick that up separately. Like, hey, what do you see as risks? And you can actually enhance your design through that. Through that. But if you remove the expectation that everybody should collaborate with you on day one on any initiative that you think we should do, yeah, that causes stress for you as well as the people who are red, who are opposed to it, who are forced to work on it. They are not going to put their heart and soul into it.
Right.
There's no point in doing that. But then this is why after 2-3 months it fizzles out because the people who are opposed to it, they probably don't put their heart and soul into it. They eventually they can say, hey, I told you so type of thing. I don't know.
Right.
I've
Come
seen
on.
that also happen. I've made this mistake many times. It's not like I suddenly appeared from another planet. I've seen initiatives failing, my own initiatives failing, and I studied as well as my client initiatives.
Mm.
I work at client sites. I see these initiatives. I can see, and of course, the statistics also show you that, right? You know the statistic that almost 80% of change initiatives fail, right? So why does that happen? It's because of this. I think it's an incorrect leadership expectation that I have a team, I have an idea, thou shall all fall in line,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that this approach makes it also actually makes it fun. Right? Why stress out people and force them
Right.
to work on things they don't want to do? They don't agree with it.
Yeah. So, moving on, what have you found is the thing that occupies most of your time? You are like, what do you think? Hey, this is a useless thing for me to work on. Why should I do this? But eventually, it needs to be done because that could be a difference between failure and success. So, what techniques or other skills have you employed to make the drudging work more interesting and useful to the company that you keep?
Yeah. I mean, again, you ask some deep questions, Chris. I have two types of answers to this. The one is that, okay, so I don't like some tasks. I still have to do them. Like, for example, I have raised an invoice, I have to chase the payment from the client. Right? I have a small company, I have to do all that. All the procedures. When I was in a large corporation, filing the T&D expense reports.
Yeah.
In fact, I have a unique record of procrastinating on it so much that one whole year I didn't file it. And just before the financial year closed, I submitted it. And it is the same boss who I now consider who I didn't like at all. He reviewed, he did not utter a word to me. He went through all the reports. He asked me just one or two questions where he thought the expenses he couldn't understand.
Uh-huh.
And he passed it all. I was expecting him to shout me down or reprimand me or something like that. He never uttered a word. He didn't even ask why you submitted it so late. It shamed me so much that after that I started became better, but I still don't like that job.
Is it a skillful strategy to adopt?
No, I think that it is not. So later on, as a P&L leader, right? Not later on, as a P&L leader, I realized expenses don't get booked on time. That impacts the P&L itself.
Yeah.
So these are the ways in which I convince myself that I should do these tasks on time, like payments. If the payments don't come, the employees don't get paid. Not that we are contingenting that, but it'll be struggle to make the payroll, right? As a small.
Yeah.
There's a ton of tasks, and I've worked out some strategies. I'm not sure there is a magic formula I can recommend for your listeners, but this is always a struggle.
Struggle. Yes.
In hindsight, one thing that I did, which I think we could do better, is which you asked, are there things as a senior leader? I was the global CIO and head of innovation, senior vice president. How many reviews I have done?
True. Yeah.
And that is like the nth level of review that has come to me, right? That it has passed through several reviews. And now I am in a small company. There's no review. Anybody wants to do anything, they do it.
Yeah.
Now, in a large company, obviously that can't be done, right? There are standards, protocols, compliances. So my hindsight idea is, could we not have created some sort of a sandbox for people to test their idea? I don't know whether this is doable. So why what I find is the amount of time we spent in the reviews and the costs and the person hours of the people, the highly paid people reviewing, the cost that was spent on that, we could have finished the initiative itself. And even if it failed, so what? Cancel it.
Right. Right.
I know this is a radical thing to say as a corporate executive, but I am saying you don't have to go no reviews or so many reviews. There must be some way in which the amount of reviews we do needn't be this much.
So much has been written about.
So this is, I believe, not very useful.
So much has been written about the Amazon model for reviews, right?
I've heard, yeah.
And how Jeff Bezos adopted everybody has to read. The first 30 minutes are spent in reading, the other 30 minutes are spent in discussing, and then at the end of the meeting, you make a decision. You are not creating another meeting. But I don't know how realistic it is, because there are some complex scenarios with a lot of business impact. So it's an ongoing model, and I think there'll be some evolution in this review process.
Have you interviewed any person from Amazon? Maybe it will be good to ask them how this whole thing works.
No, I've not interviewed anybody, but I've heard a lot from my Amazon friends as to how those reviews are structured and their participation in that process. Right?
Yeah. Just to clarify, Chris, I would say what I'm advocating is more suitable to innovation.
Yeah.
The innovation should not go through this kind of a laborious process. Because the idea is developed by the frontline people who are actually doing the work. And I am a senior vice president. I no longer know exactly what the leaf node people are doing. Yes, I did that job long time ago. But that doesn't mean I know what is happening today at that level of detail. So I am talking about a sandbox for trying out ideas, innovation, without having to go through a laborious review process. Make them more inexpensive. Make it more easy to try out ideas in a sandbox environment.
Mm-hmm.
If I were ever in a large company, I would do that with this hindsight wisdom.
Yes. So let's touch on some light topics. What does your day look like? When do you get up, and how do you structure your day?
Yeah, sure. I go to bed. I start sleeping around midnight.
Wow.
Typically.
Okay.
I stay awake. And that is actually post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I used to sleep at 10:30 and wake up at 6:30. Now I go to bed at 12 and wake up at 7:15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have this tiny habits routine, which I do.
Yeah.
Have coffee and then go to the gym and then work out for an hour. I do this 6 days a week. And then around 10 a.m., I start my work.
Okay.
And then you have the meetings, client calls, keeps going. It's quite a long day these days because Gen AI is
it's keeping you busy.
is upon us, and it's so exciting. Yeah. There's not enough time in the day to try out everything.
So we thought AI will help us cut down our time at work. But you're finding it otherwise.
Yeah, that's a very good question. In fact, I started my career as a programmer in TCS. The last actual programming I wrote was in the year 2000. In fact, I have written a lot of year 2000 remediation code for the client site I was at.
Mhm.
But after that, I never wrote any program.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, I'm not hands on, although architecture and design, how to architect systems, I could still do that. I had enough conceptual knowledge of technology to be able to do that as a CIO, the one cognizant, the conceptual architecture of how it might work, all that has some contribution from me. But since the Gen AI has come, I am developing applications almost 2 or 3 every week and deploying them.
Okay.
It's remarkable what generative AI is able to do.
So it's brought you back to the roots of what you tried to do joining BITS Pilani. I know we all did electrical electronics, but eventually we all migrated to
Software.
being computer scientists, right? And we never learned computer science formally except for some courses. So finding ourselves in that field has been both fruitful, and it is allowing us to experiment with things that we really wanted to do, but due to life's navigations, we didn't end up taking that opportunity earlier on.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I think it's probably a good segue to speaking about the another friend who has had huge influence. It's Srivatsan. He's also your close friend.
Yes.
Srivatsan Parthasarathy. So when we did our programming course in BITS, right, he was one of the toppers and he was very excited and he would go to the computer center every day. I just used to tag along with him. So I got kind of infected by the passion that he had. I didn't know the word passion then, but I know that he was obsessed with software and programming. So I started doing that. So I was kind of hooked, thanks to Srivatsa. So this passion for programming and writing software comes from BITS Pilani, thanks to Srivatsan Parthasarathy.
Yeah.
So that has kind of stayed with me. Now I am in like a kid in a candy store. So I have some application idea, I can generate the whole thing. I don't have to convince 3 people that it's a good idea. Hey, engineers, please build it. Next week, hey, did you build it? Oh, no, something else. All that is gone. I can just develop the whole thing in a few hours and deploy it. It's phenomenal what generative AI is able to do.
Yeah. So turning over to the COVID time, because it is nature of work, and COVID influenced the nature of work substantially. Talk to me about how COVID influenced your career or workplace environment, and how did the people that you work with deal with it, and how are they dealing with it? Even now, because the influence of COVID has physically died down, but mentally there is a lot of baggage still impacting people's workplace. Can you share anything about your experience with dealing with COVID?
Yeah, sure. So when I was in Cognizant, right, I used to go to the office. In fact, where my home is, my Chennai office is like 6 kilometers away. In fact, I moved to this place only to be close to that office. I would go to the office whether or not I have any meetings or anything. I would go to the office because I couldn't fathom this idea of working from home. I thought that is just something people do to chill and claim that they are working from home. This is what I thought. Even when I was in America for 10 years, I am living 60 miles away from the office. When I'm not traveling, I would come to the corporate headquarters, drive 60 miles one way and be there. I needed to see people, all of that. Now, when we started Tiny Magic, from day one, we are a remote company. Not because we were prescient or anything, we were just trying to be frugal. We had 6 people, right? We were all distributed already. So by the time COVID started, we already had 10 people all working remotely from wherever they are. So COVID just made us more, attuned with the idea that remote working, and in fact, many of our programs started becoming virtual. So people started to see the value of doing our programs. Previously, they used to do it in person. So in fact, COVID became a very big boon for us after some time. During the initial wave, 9 months, we had no revenue. In fact, we were facing a existential crisis
Mm-hmm.
because the 9 months of the financial year, no revenue was there.
How do you pay people, right?
So we cut our burn rate, cut expenses. Somehow we survived. But then as we survived, it turned around because a lot more people were looking for digital, how to do digital transformation, all that, which is what we had been working on, like disruptive innovation using digital. Then Gen AI comes and we have done one more switch to that. So I believe that, in fact, this is so liberating, right? I was just talking to my wife also the other day. All our people, they don't have to spend 1 hour one way or 1.5 hours one way commuting. They are able to spend it with their family. In fact, a couple of my engineers are working from their hometown somewhere in interior Tamil Nadu. In fact, I don't know exactly which place they are at. If you ask me specifically name their place, I might struggle. Right? So, but they are able to do useful work from there. And they are happy with their family. They are close to where they want to be. So I think this, what COVID taught us, I would say real value of human efforts and what humans really need. Right? I believe that forcing everybody to come to the office just for the heck of it is not correct. Yes, we need to have collaboration. We need to see each other. Why not you do 1 week, you meet, do your collaboration meetings and work from home the other 4 days? Right? Why not work something like that? Forcing everybody to come 5 days a week. And if you can't come to the office, you are fired. This is the strategy many companies are taking now. I believe that that's completely incorrect.
Yeah.
Sorry for the rant, but I think that's kind of
No,
not
there is a
correct.
lot of truth in what you're saying. I think the points that the people make is how do you actually sustain a culture, going back to the culture where we don't get to see each other's face on a frequent basis, because human beings interact a lot with gestures, with how you react with your face
Body language. Yeah.
and your whole body language, and then your physical thing as well, and those are all like very important things. So I think there is value in it, but I don't think this is going to be a corporate structure for the next century. There is going to be probably revolutionary changes. We don't know what it's going to be, but hopefully we will invent a more human focused model that is able to bridge the gaps in connecting when everybody works from home. Because one of the problems, Sukhu, is that not everybody is in the same career stage at the same time. Say if you're a
Correct.
person who's just starting, you need a lot of mentorship. You need a lot of
Yes.
networking, right? You need a lot of, so you're absorbing a lot of stuff in a very organic way. These are things that you cannot teach easily. Okay, and so observing other people is a great training tool. So you're losing a lot of that.
Yes.
Somehow you have to solve that problem,
Yes, absolutely.
right?
No, I am not saying that everything should be remote. I am lucky in my company because all the people are senior people.
Yes,
The average number of years of experience is 20 or more.
correct.
So they don't need that supervision or like they can call. They are more comfortable with what they already know and what they are trying to learn. But yeah, junior people most certainly need some hand holding mentorship.
Yeah,
This is not a substitute for in person. It can never be. But I think we are trying to go, the pendulum is trying to swing back, which is unfortunate because what COVID proved to us is that all of us could have a more flexible approach to work
yes,
and not be forced to come to the office. I think, like you said, I think new models will evolve.
will evolve. Yes,
I think COVID has taught us some important things, I think.
yes.
How each company tries to weave that into their approach is not clear yet.
Uh huh. Yes. So one of the important things in running a successful company is the culture that drives communication. Okay, how do you keep everybody not necessarily on the same page, but at least on the same values? And how do you ensure that dislocations don't cause challenges, big challenges, right? So, what are tools? Some of the tools that you adopted, and principles that you follow, and possibly the culture behind. What is a good communication strategy?
This is a fantastic question. One, as a former Microsoft employee, you would be happy to hear that we use Microsoft Teams heavily. The channels, every project we do has a channel. Everybody is open to that. Everybody can participate. There are weekly meetings, all this happening through that. But one important culture building tool, in my opinion, which many companies have not heard whether they tried, it's a gratitude circle. Okay, we have one weekly all hands meeting. There are only 10 people, so we can pull this off. Everybody has to tell what they are grateful for by identifying another employee that helped them with something that week. Everybody has to do that. So we have now done it for more than 6 years. There is a thing I did on Gratitude Circle. I'll send it to you. What we learned from this. So, gratitude is a great way to build this bonding, which is very hard for us. We meet once in a year in person, maybe twice if we are lucky. The rest of the time we are remote. So this is the meeting always starts with what we call as the gratitude circle. And since that might be monotonous, what one of our associates did is they will create. So, which order do we speak in, right? So, people have started applying creativity to that. One time it will be like
The leader.
something like, how many tooth do you have? How many pets do you have? What color do you like? What is the age of your children? How many children you have? So slowly we use that to learn about each other. So that kind of determines the order in which people will speak for the gratitude circle. And that makes it interesting. So we try new variations, new things. So someone recently suggested we build a generative AI agent that will suggest that that rule for that week. So
Yeah.
this gratitude circle, I believe. Now, gratitude is a proven psychological thing. There's a lot of research that has been conducted, and I practice it in my family also.
Mm.
In fact, the three of us, we do a gratitude circle every day.
Doesn't feel artificial.
No, we have to name at least three people every day who did something for us. Every day there is something to say. I mean, three is like sometimes we go 6, 7, 8, 10 like that. So if you make it specific, it works.
You don't see.
Like you have to say such and such person helped me.
You don't encounter raised eyebrows when this topic comes up on your dinner table.
No. It's become a habit actually.
That's counting your blessings and from your children.
Yeah, I have only one child. So in fact, I started doing the gratitude circle because she was like 7 year old then. Okay, I have taken her permission to tell this story also. So she used to be like, she's a privileged child. Whatever she asks, she gets. But once in a while, I have to say no. We can't possibly give her everything she wants. But when we say no, all hell breaks loose. The usual grounding and timeout and all that didn't work. So then I was in Professor B.J. Fox's class in the Tiny Habits. One of the first habits he teaches is to have a gratitude habit. So every night before you go to bed, you have to think of three things that you're grateful for. This is a habit he asked us to build. And I still do that. So I said, why not the three of us do this every night before we go to bed? My wife agreed. Obviously, the daughter at 7 year old, she was kind of had to participate.
Yeah.
But slowly, like magic, in a few months, her tantrum stopped. And we continue to do it now. She is now 17. So
Nice.
And then we extend it to the corporate environment. There also it seems to work. So this is an interesting experiment. I don't know whether it can be scaled in large companies and all that. That part I don't know. But it works.
I mean, with tools, you can scale it, so it's possible. But it has to be, more at there's going to be connection, right? You have to have people vocalize that and you have to see them vocalize it. Because a lot of this, is about how you say it. If you just like write it in a Teams document, that's a different proposition, obviously, right?
No, this is an oral thing. You have to say it out loud.
Yeah.
Most of them say it out. I do too. I mean, I prepare a list saying who all did what that week and
Yeah.
say.
Hey, Sukumar, we are coming to the end of our allocated time, not allocated, but, is there anything that I missed out? Any key thing I missed out that you wanted to share? We can take another 2 to 3 minutes talking about that.
No, I'm good. I think that in the nature of work, what you are picking up, culture, management, leadership, I think these are even more crucial now with the arrival of generative AI, which in some ways does threaten many of the jobs that we do, although I don't view it that way.
Mhm.
There are schools of thought that point to the negative aspects of
Right.
large scale adoption. So, leadership and culture are, I think, even more significant in this world. So, I think you are touching upon some very important things. I know I've listened to your previous startup podcasts, all the episodes that you did with various startup leaders. I'm sure this one will also be a super hit podcast. Wish you the very best.
Yeah.
And thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you. One of the goals I have for this podcast is not how many views I get, but if 2 or 3 people listen to this and change their mind, that is something that I've contributed to this world. So, as you said, that's the gratitude I would express in this initiative, and hope to talk to you, in our WhatsApp channel. You always come up with interesting ideas, and so next time I come to India, let's try to. The last time we went to a restaurant together, I think we went to Woodlands. I loved the
Yes,
food,
that was a long time.
so let's try to do that again. We had a good chat with you, so we'll publish this soon and see what feedback we get.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Take care.
Okay.
All the best.
Thank you so much, Sukumar, for this opportunity.
Thanks to you for tuning in. We always like to hear feedback from you. You can tweet to us at Carabiner Media 1. That is CARABINER MEDIA and the number 1. You can also send us email at startupfeedback@carabinermedia.com. We hope you share this podcast with your friends and colleagues and also rate us in your favorite podcast platform. See you next time.